this idea that we're coming to steal black jobs.
I disagree absolutely.
What? No, we're coming to take. We're coming to compete for jobs, all jobs, not just black jobs, white jobs, Asian jobs.
Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah. Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah.
We're coming to compete with everybody, because that's what America is about. That's like one of the foundations of America as a capitalist society. I remember now, the ADOS. The ADOS were fighting with the Africans.
Good morning, my neighbors. Yes, fuck you too.
For those that are wondering what I'm talking about, there's this group of people. They consider themselves ADOS. ADOS. That's American Descendants of Slavery. Like a kind of like a political group where they're pushing for like things like reparation for people of slave descent, and they've been around for quite a few years now. I've heard of them. I hear of them. They always pop up every now and then. Then you have another group called FWB, FBW, Foundational Black Americans, FBA. Also similar to the ADOS people. I think they all used to be the same under the ADOS umbrella. But one of them had a fight with the other. One of the leaders had a fight with the other. And they now broke out and did their own thing. They've been very, very vocal on platforms like Clubhouse. But recently, they kind of spilled out of Clubhouse onto a somewhat mainstream platform, Twitter. And they had this room where for the longest time they were talking about the plight of black Americans, specifically ADOS black Americans. The argument was that America was built by foundational black Americans, aka ADOS people. Another of the arguments is that without the push for the 14th Amendment, which is the right to citizenship, none of the other blacks, immigrant blacks that moved to this country would be here today. Which I think there's some truth to that. What are the other things that they argue? They argue about, the civil rights movement that they fought for, that they and their ancestors fought for, are the things that make it possible for immigrants like me to enjoy benefits and certain privileges in a country like America. Which perhaps there's some truth to that too. I'm sure there's some truth to that too. But then what they're pissed about now is that they feel like African immigrants or even like Caribbean immigrants that move to this country, they're not allying themselves with the black Americans like they should. First of all, they think that we're here to take jobs. This is just a small fraction of people. This is not how a lot of people think. This is just this very, very vocal online community. And they think Africans are here to take jobs from ADOS people of slave descent. They think that we take jobs and then we make money and then we send that money back to our home countries. In other words, they feel like they fought for all these rights and privileges that black people, have access to in America. But then we're not reinvesting back in the black community. So they feel somewhat betrayed by that. And they're going on all these platforms and they're speaking loudly. One of the people that are actually very, very vocal on this matter is this guy called Tariq Nasheed. He talks a lot of crap online. He talks a lot of shit too. But those were the arguments that he was making. They also feel like ADOS people are old reparations. I think there's some points to that too. Now, imagine they open up this space on Twitter Twitter where Nigerians are very active, and a lot of the comments that are being made, you know, they were always injecting Nigerians' names in there. So Nigerians flooded this Twitter space where they were talking, and of course, it became a Glasgow's situation where they were just arguing. Like some Nigerians were trolling, some Nigerians were calling for the place to be shut down. Obviously, there were Africans that were on there that were making counter arguments. Some of the counter arguments that you would hear on that space would be like something like, Africans argue that we contribute to American economy. That basically the reason why we kind of have like a stake in the American economy is the fact that Americans or American foreign affairs affects all these impoverished countries in Africa and extract resources from them, and because of that they're forced to leave our home countries like Nigeria for greener pastures. So almost like kind of like, you know, that whole thing of blaming the white man. The white man is taking all our resources, so we have no other choice, and that, you know, of course we're contributing to the economy. So obviously there's an incentive for America to also have us come, because we're helping to boost the American economy, which there's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. But the whole argument about, you know, and it's like a colonialism argument where they say, you know, we were colonized by the West, so as a result we're kind of like getting back at them, and we have no other choice because they've ruined us. I don't necessarily buy that. I feel like the reason why a lot of African and Caribbean immigrants flee their countries because they have bad leaders. We just have to be honest. It's I mean there may be some effects of colonial masters, you know, especially those francophone countries that still, you know, have a lot of influence from France. Yes, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The developed countries have a lot of influence in continents like Africa. China is wielding a lot of influence. But to say that is the reason why people are fleeing their countries, that's not true. We're fleeing those countries because we have bad leaders. That's really just the bottom line. We have bad leaders. And as a result of a lot of our bad leadership and bad governance, I mean, these are leaders that no one is forcing them to do anything. A lot of them are just stealing money, right? And as a result, we have you know, bad economies that aren't producing jobs like they should. You know, we don't have the resources. In a country like Nigeria, we don't even have constant electricity. There's a lot of hardship. We're the impoverished capital of the world. That's why people are fleeing. That's why someone like me had to leave. So we leave and we come to places like the United States, and we come here for green pastures. So yeah, we do come here to get jobs. Yeah. Now, this idea that we're stealing black people jobs, I've pushed back against that, because there's a lot that doesn't really line up there. First of all, the black American community in America is about 40 million people. The African, and this is not including Caribbean, I'm just talking about the African community, is about 4 million. So that's about a tenth. This idea that we're going to make this huge impact and take all the jobs, it's laughable. We're a fraction of the entire black community in America. That's all Africans, African immigrants. And you can look this up. I think it's about a little less than 4 million. And then the black population is about 40 million. So you do the math. This idea that we're coming to steal black jobs,
I disagree absolutely.
What? No, we're coming to we're coming to compete for jobs, all jobs, not just black jobs, white jobs, Asian jobs.
Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah. Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah.
We're coming to compete with everybody. because that's what America is about. That's like one of the foundations of America as a capitalist society. Part of how they make sure that the economy is running is that they make sure that they have a decent amount of immigration coming in to also compete for jobs. That has been America. It's an immigrant country. It's full of immigrants. That's why it's such a diverse country. The immigrants that have come in and they've made fortunes coming to the United States. That's what the American dream is about. I find it insulting when people say, "Oh no, we're just competing with African Americans," because when you say that, what you're implying is that there's certain jobs that are reserved for African Americans, right? Which some people may argue that, yeah, because of things like quotas, the government tries to encourage corporations to have like certain amount of, at least a minimum amount of a quota of black folks. It's not enforced because technically you can't enforce that would be discrimination, but they incentivize companies to do that, and most companies try to do it. But if you're saying that there's certain jobs that are secured, first of all, it's wrong. You can't say that there's certain jobs that are secured for black people that are descendants of slaves, because that's not how America works. There are black people that have come to this country, that have been in this country for almost a decade, for almost a century now. There are people that have been here for a while. So this idea that this stuff is only for the people that were descendants of slaves, that's not how the law works. It just isn't. It just isn't. That's number one. Number two, you're assuming that the black people that have these jobs, that maybe they didn't really earn it. Like, essentially, you're trying to say there's like a token amount of black people that they need to have, and they just have to hire them just because they're black people. So what you're implying is that these people haven't earned these jobs, and I think that's wrong. I think that's the wrong way to look at things. Because why would you want a job that you didn't qualify for and that you're only in the job because you're a black person? No one wants that. At least I don't. So this idea that there's a certain amount of jobs that are reserved for a certain group of people, I find that to be not necessarily accurate.
I disagree absolutely.
First of all, there's no way to even prove that. A lot of these corporations are not very, very transparent with their hiring systems. That's first of all. But most importantly, you can't say that black people aren't earning these jobs. And you can't say that when Africans come here, hustle, and get jobs that they haven't earned it. How do you arrive at that? I think it's wrong. So that's the one thing I push back against these ADOS folks. As far as reparations goes, I do think there's a case to be made. That was a promise that was made. How that gets implemented, I don't know. But it's one of those things where I'm not stepping in any group's way for achieving that. That was a promise that was made by the US government. It was never fulfilled. That is a fact. If there was something to be, some kind of reparation to be given out, I just think it'll be tricky in dispersing those funds, given how much black people have intermixed with other cultures, other nationalities, other races. You know what I'm saying? How do you then determine? It'll be tricky. Like, what would be the rule? How much black do you have to have? Is it 1/16? Is it 1/32? Is it a tiny pinch? Do you have to be at least half black? Like, how does that work? I don't know. But I think it's a conversation worth having. And I believe that's something that one of the things that Biden has, where they're looking into it. I think he's full of shit. I don't think they're doing anything. I think he's just doing it to appease. But I think it's a conversation worth having. And that's not something that I would get in anyone's way of. But as far as those jobs though, look, Nigerians didn't come to America to sell ekpa. We didn't come here to play. We're here.
Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah. Now we there, now we there, now we there, yeah.
To hustle. Because we know how hard it is back home. In that case, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends too.